Hello. Today is February 3rd, 2026. This is SIG Node Weekly Meeting. Welcome, everybody. We have quite a packed agenda today, so let's get going. Can anybody hear me? Just to confirm that I'm not speaking in the void.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So Bryce, you go, and DJ. Any of you here? No, I don't see anybody. Francesco, you mentioned that you will GTM some requests.
Yeah, that PR slipped through cracks, and I reviewed again. Actually, I completed the review, and looks good. There are a couple of comments which ideally should be addressed, otherwise we can merge and improve and clean up.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next, Ritika, are you here? Okay, what is this PR about?
I've been thinking we might want to introduce a subsection of the meeting agenda to just like PR review requests to make the distinction between ones that people want to discuss versus people just want eyes on.
Okay. Yeah, I typically assume if somebody put it in a agenda, they want to discuss it. Yeah, last comment is from 2 weeks.
Practicality is also good to include with at least title of a PR.
Right. Okay. So yeah, this event, I remember briefly event on the container start. Yeah, somebody need to understand why it's needed and then review the PR. I think there are a bunch of assignee already, so I don't think we need to mess with that. Okay. Francesco, you go next.
Yeah, it's about discussing the Project Suits API v1 Alpha 1 deprecation. So we have this API which is local to the kubelet, which is some monitoring agent, most notably NFD and the NVIDIA exporters. They use to gather data about our location, and we have two versions. Version 1, which is a superset of version 1 Alpha 1, which was the first one introduced. So in V1, because of the linked issue, we merged an improvement which, as far as Git history allows us to reconstruct, addresses an original implementation issue, and that simplifies the code significantly. And this flow interact with other issues like the first PR, which was in the agenda today. So, in order to improve the cleanup, a very good uh, intermediate step will be to deprecate and then remove the v1 alpha 1. And so my ask for this forum is what's the best way to start this process to get some pulse about this. Uh, what are the recommendations?
We have few places when we do deprecations. If it's part of a cap, like people like to do metrics. Like if there is a metric exposed, and then cluster admins can look at this metric and see if it's being used. I like what Containerd did is whenever we use any tooling against this instance, like CTR, for instance, there will be warnings associated with this request.
Mm.
In this case, I think our main concern is to highlight for the users that some deprecated functionality was used. So maybe event on a node would be useful.
Okay. Okay. I'll file an issue and tag a few people, and we can iterate over there, and I'll incorporate those suggestions. Could be a reasonable way forward.
Yeah,
Reasonable.
maybe need to Like, I mean, if you want to take it as a way to standardize on that, it will be great because we have other places that report deprecations, and I don't know if we have metrics in one place and events in another place, it may not be very consistent.
Yeah. The idea about filing an issue and iterating over there is exactly to find to set a good precedent, I would say, and okay, sounds good to me. Ideally, I would like to kickstart this process in 136, but it's not, something super urgent. So yeah, I think we can start like that. Thank you.
Did you do Google search or like GitHub search on how many usages?
Yeah, that was one of my idea. I will add this data on the issue. Yeah, that could be very important indeed. Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more feedback on this item? Yeah, thank you, Francesco, for keep cleaning up stuff. Chris, you're up next.
Hi. Yeah, so I had some updates on the writable C groups KEP. I've been doing a little bit of digging on this issue and came across this kernel feature called the NSDelegate mount option that's supported for C group 2 file systems. And basically what this mount option does is ensure that a container it doesn't have the ability to modify any of its own controller limits, but it can modify things like the subtree control file, and then it can also create subdirectories for its own subprocesses. So it seems like this mount option provides the exact behavior that we're looking for this feature. The thing is, though, I can't really see why we would need to surface this through Kubernetes at all. This seems like a completely container runtime specific detail. So I was going to make the argument that maybe we don't even need a KEP for this feature. And this is something that we can follow up independently with container runtimes like Containerd and Cryo, and basically have logic that would say, check if the root I should clarify the requirement is that the root C group mount has to have this mount option. So the container runtime logic could be check if the root C group mount has the NSDelegate mount option. If true, then mount the C group file system into the container with read write. And if that's the case, then we get writable C groups for free. The only issue is that not all Kubernetes distros mount the C group file system with NSDelegate right now. Like COS doesn't do this yet. I heard that like AKS doesn't support this yet either for their node images. So I guess one question is can we like maybe take this off, not be a KEP? I need to check with Divi on that. And then the second is like, how has SIG Node handled coordinating features that depend on kernel features, and potentially coordinating with other cloud providers on image updates they need to make in order to leverage features like this?
Is that like a new kernel feature, or it's a feature that's already merged but only available in newer?
I had the kernel docs open. Let me go to that. I think it's been around for a little bit.
I think it's a kernel feature for a long time. So when Chris first talked to me, I was shocked because I saw the whole design based on this NS delegation, because we briefly chat a while back. But there's the one thing's unclear for me. It is a year ago when we first discussed, and they do have some negative security concern about are we going to delegate at the root SQL level, but I haven't never heard the response, especially from security perspective, reply since then, like a year ago. So we need to do some investigation and figure out how to ensure of the security alignments. Yeah. Sasa also mentioned that the security part of the security context. Yes, that's also the question what I asked last year. I just don't have that information, and so that's why we didn't And also we are quickly try to enable those kind of things through some other route. And for experimental, right, so to support array. And so now back to the open source available solution, we need to figure out the security context. Yeah, here.
Makes sense. If I remember correctly, systemd already uses the NS delegate. You can
Yes.
double check that. Yeah.
Yes,
It does.
exactly. But the systemd have all those access, right? So that's kind of the problem. So what kind of things, how you don't need a grant of the capability of the admin capability, right? So that's how you are going to enable those. So how you are going to constrain the readable always is your only creator of the directory for your parent, and also you have the right all the read and write underneath, right? So that's kind of the things we need to be care. Yeah.
Yep, makes sense. I think, like Chris, we had two options, right? Like one is the container runtime itself advertising what features it detected on the host and supports, and then there's the whole node level feature discovery thing that got added over the past cycles. But I think in this case, you would see like a uniform deployment across your cluster, right? If it's enabled, it generally will be enabled on all the nodes.
That's right. Yeah, we just get it for
ahead.
free, really, for all pods, assuming the node has the NS delegate mount option.
Yeah, I think a key with the way that the approach is shifting is like currently the proposal is not to have a pod spec field, not to have the kubelet be aware of it, just have it be basically something that's toggleable on the CRI implementation level if the root C group supports it and if we can make sure that it has all the security boundaries that we expect, which I believe it sounds like it does. So, and I'm a fan of this proposal because there's nothing that the kubelet really needs to maintain or manage. It doesn't have to be in this path. The CRI can just decide to set it if it's set on the C groups. And yeah, so I'm personally a big fan of the not KEP approach with this one and just letting the CRI take care of it.
I think I can put together maybe a separate, I don't know, doc or some kind of design proposal for this that then we can share with container runtime maintainers and figure out a path forward.
Yeah, it
That
definitely
maybe
needs to be
does-
in KNS docs. So
Okay, I just thought because it's not going to be a Kubernetes feature specifically that
Right.
maybe it wouldn't
well,
follow the KEP
I don't-
process.
I don't think I get, yeah, exactly. Like I think that this could be fully encapsulated within the CRI and then it entirely, and then in the CRI, containerd or cryo docs, we can describe the situations that it might be set and what the sort of comparison between different options are. But yeah, I'm currently advocating that this isn't a Kubernetes feature at all, basically.
Something that Alexander is raising here is like, unless we want to toggle this behavior only on a per container basis, I guess, yeah, like I think that whatever doc I put together can maybe mention like in what circumstances would a user maybe not want this on by default. Yeah. So Tim, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I agree that this sounds like a good direction. One question I had is, are any of the existing security knobs that we have enough to disable this? Like, does it require any particular capabilities or like if we disable writable rootfs, does that block this? Or sorry, if we set read-only rootfs.
Yeah, if the root C group mount doesn't have the NS delegate option, it's not even possible because you can't add NS delegate to this feature only works if NS delegate's on the root C group mount.
But I mean, if if we don't add any knobs to Kubernetes to control this, if it's something that's just at the runtime layer,
yes.
If you lock down the pod, say with the like restricted pod security standard, does that prevent the user from, or does that prevent use of this, or would it all be?
It would depend on like how we add this in the CRI API. Like we could add some CRI API field that says like
yeah, sorry, I think I'm not quite getting my question across. Like I'm saying, if we like without adding a knob for this, like if we make it so it's just like always on at, you know, in the runtime layer.
Yes.
Are there any existing security controls that we have that would prevent it from being used?
I don't believe so, because I don't think container runtimes right now have logic that condition like whether or not the C group mount is read write or read only. Right now in container runtimes, it's hard coded as read only. So if we made it toggleable read write, we would need to probably add some kind of CRI API option to ensure that it's it's guaranteed to be a read only mount.
Okay. So fundamental problem it is do you want to for only giving container, you want at the container level, you want to do the read and write, because default is read only right now, right? Or we want to open it for generic for all the containers. That's kind of things. If you need only specific container ask for through the pod security context, then you need something and indicate that. Otherwise, we could make decisions. Okay, for all the container, you could create a sub-container by yourself. That part, I think we need to get the security alignment. Yeah.
Circling back a little bit to Tim's point, I think, like, again, like I'm advocating no kubelet awareness, no CRI API changes, only a CRI implementation. So only Containerd or Cryo can opaquely change it depending on whether or not they want to. Some situations you might not want to. I do agree, read-only rootfs, that could be a situation that the CRI implementation interprets read-only rootfs as we also only set read-only C groups. So if a container is really restricted, maybe it shouldn't be allowed to set do read-write C groups, even if it ostensibly could be safe. But again, this is basically a discussion that the CRI implementations can have within themselves. Like, okay, what situations does it not make sense to turn this on versus it doesn't? Maybe is it configurable, or do we just set it on by default? My position is that the Kubernetes community should fully delegate the responsibility of choosing when and whom and why to the CRI implementation and its internal configuration.
Okay, Peter. Once we are choosing when and why and what to delegate, you already need some configurations. So then what you
but the configuration can exist in there's the CRI implementation has its own configuration fields. There's also NRI, which is an option. In Cryo, there's other mechanisms. Like we have mechanisms to have the CRI implementations customize behavior underneath the kubelets purview or even underneath pod API purview. So we don't need to have pod API awareness to have it be toggleable.
It's not, okay, the design actually, at least I have some the high level design last year, but I think we really need is the security inputs. We have the security inputs, and then we will know, because anything we made a decision is not count without the security inputs here. So, but we do know how to move forward. That's for sure. Yeah.
I agree. Like we should consider like what can people do from a security perspective or maybe resource exhaustion. If we just enable it by default, suddenly my cluster is going to start behaving different. So from that perspective, like having knobs to opt into this may be safer than versus just saying, okay, this was just done under the hood by the container runtimes, and you don't have a way to opt in or out at the pod level or the node level. Needs to
But
be
like,
considered.
but at the node level, we do have the option. It's just in the container runtime configuration. And at the pod level, you also do. It's just like it's not through pod API, it's through other mechanisms. Like NRI is an existing way of like, basically opaquely telling a pod to do opaque things.
But
And
that's a plugin configured, right? I think it's
right.
better to like have a pod level API to opt in or opt out depending on whatever default we land on.
But
Versus you depending on some plugin somewhere configured deciding that for you.
I guess I don't personally agree with this specific field because of like, I mean, and again, it depends on how the CRI implementations go about it. It doesn't also have to be an NRI plugin, but like from my position, if a node admin wants to do this to their pods, like I think the granularity of the existing customizations that you have in the CRI implementation are good enough for now. And if there are cases where like, for instance, ecosystem integration where there's like some controller that we really want to have this in or something like that, and it like needs to be cross-platform compatible, then we can consider those cases. But I haven't heard those necessarily, and I think the NS delegate option is, I mean, assuming that we have like a security audit and we figure out that it's safe to do, then having it be toggleable on the node level or even underneath that like feels like an easier approach to me and a good enough for now to try out.
Yes, I feel like the admin is not the persona that can decide whether they want this. It's more the application developer, and they control the pod spec, and they can decide, oh, whether I want this behavior for my app or not. Happy to divide more. Okay, I'll please.
True, but there have been a lot of cases historically that SIG Node has been basically like, this use case does not warrant enough like legitimate integration to put it in the pod API. I'm curious why this case feels to people like one that is worthy of that like sort of pretty high bar.
I feel like it could lead to something like swap, where we start with something like this and eventually realize, oh no, you need an application level configuration
And that's okay.
anyways.
And we have the room to do that in the future. And we can always extend. But for right now, if we don't have those cases, like why is this being considered more than other cases in the past is my question.
I think there are resource exhaustion things to worry about, so it's better to like go carefully down this path and have opt-in, get some feedback, and see how what impact it has on the node, like allowing applications to do that versus opening it up and then because it's not that hard to get a field for this.
But it's like in those experimental use cases, it's easier to try it out if it's in an NRI plugin than it is if we wire it into a pod API that's alpha in Kubernetes that like is bound to Kubernetes lifecycle. Like if we're experimenting with it, let's experiment in the runtime. If we find a legitimate use case that we really need it to be higher, let's put it up higher.
Yeah,
but I don't think we're there yet.
We can use a label.
Yeah, or like like Crowd uses annotations for stuff like this all the time. Like we can do that. There's a lot of ways that we could customize this behavior in the runtime without a pod level API. To me, the bar for a pod level API is really high, and I don't see that being here. Versus Kevin mentioned in the chat like group, and that case like we've punted like a bunch of times, and we actually have people who are complaining about that like as a case. I'm curious why like this is being like this feels more important to get as a pod API versus that, that's kind of my position is
well, I think it's typically because the pod security context, right? manages these kinds of parameters for security, and we're talking about possibly not needing the pod security context to do that. At least not yet, right?
Right, and often that is the case, but
well, no,
yeah,
I agree. And all right, we're planning to support pod security context switches so that we don't change any of the pod security context information in the NRI plugins. So we keep aligned with the Kubernetes plan, right? Kevin.
Again, we need security inputs. Let's not debate on here, right? So Kevin, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think maybe the confusion was where I was assuming we were saying we were going to opt in for all container runtimes. I think if we not have this as a default and let people try it out, I think this is perfectly fine. I think the confusion was whether or not we would like all container runtimes would opt into this feature and change the behavior out underneath everyone on the cluster level. And then that seems like it could be a problem down the road that we want to avoid. But if we go experimental, I think this is fine.
Actually, for me, I have another follow-up things, right? So right now, I'm okay with at the container level, all container level. But this year, I hope we can push forward with the dynamic pod, which I published like more than a year ago, but there's the prerequisite. I see more and more use cases and the dynamic pod, which is like relax further about make the container can be changed more. I mean, make the pod can be changed more. So should I add at the pod level for those certain pod? So that's also the question, because I could just always go through Kubernetes, right? So create of the new, add a new container there, just like today what we are doing, informal. Or I can delegate this more to other thing, to directly, because you already reserve that pod, right? So the pod, and you already have the pod level resource as the cap of the resource and allocate. So can I delegate to other thing, direct drop the container? And there's the security consent too. So that's why, this is why I think about we need security inputs, not just for this one feature, because this one feature motivation initially for me is for support array. Right? So I know the NRI can work, but I want to solve this from the proper way, because then you can indicate it's container level or it is pod level. And all container, or like all pod, or some individual pod. Because if all the pod have that kind of things, I'm not sure the consequence. Honestly, I do think about there's so many consequences there. So we need to carefully understand those kind of things. But it's beyond node, actually. Once you're doing those kind of things, and there, everyone can add different type of control plane. And I worry about that might destroy Kubernetes control plane, then destroy Kubernetes.
No.
So that's the things, right? So you could just drop everything on those kind of magical things. You basically create off another path to this whole thing, and eventually, and nothing works. And so there's the risk condition all over the place, how you are control. So this is why we didn't really start a lot of project last to how to, the fundamental problem is how to balance like the velocity, latency, and improve, and also overall performance, and also the reliability system being in long run. So this is why even for this one, let's just get the security inputs, please. And then future things, basically this can be expanded to support more.
Okay, I think we beat this horse enough. Yeah, there's a follow-up that we need to finish on that, and let's move to the next item. So next item is annual SIG report. It started, the date is February 14th. So we have some time after PR freeze, and I think next week we can start doing it. If anybody wants to help with that, please speak up, and we can coordinate on Slack. Next one is from Radostin. Are you here?
Yes.
Take it away.
Okay. Hi. So we have been working in the checkpoint restore working group on essentially creating a cap for pod level checkpoint restore. And essentially, the main idea is to define the CRI interface for checkpointing a pod, restoring a pod, and then how the checkpoint would look like. And one of the reasons we need essentially reviewers from the SIG Node and approvers. And I was wondering if anyone might be able to help.
I can I can be the approver, but I need someone help on the review.
Yeah, I've been reviewing as we go, and I can also pull other people in to look at it. I might be a little close. I'm, as part of someone in the working group, I've been pretty close to it, but I'll do my review and then I'll pass it over to you once that's ready, Don.
Okay,
Sure.
cool.
Thanks. I also can find someone from the GVicer team, right? So our GVicer team to review this. Yeah.
Yeah. We are using the GKE documentation for pod snapshotting as an example of how some of the interfaces should look like.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Okay, next one is Wendy. I saw you. Yeah.
This is a little bit late for Wendy. I think
Okay.
this might just be a FYI, but yeah, Wrangler update. And there are a handful of caps that need some updating. So if anyone has a cap that's on this list that she posted, the at-risk ones, take a look, please.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, my name's called out on the what is it, the disruption API or whatever I forget which one it is. I'm hoping maybe to get some reviews from SIG Node on that one. I think they were hoping to get a PRR approver. I'm not sure if that cap has been really reviewed by anyone in the SIG yet.
Yeah, I signed up on it last week. I think I will. I'm doing pass this week.
Okay, perfect. I'll wait for your all's input on that one. Or well, I think we're still trying to figure out who can review that from the PRR side. But.
Okay. And there is one item from Carter. Is it somebody here?
Yeah, hey folks. So this is a pretty small update to the website documentation. This is just talking about options that have been merged for quite a while. They were added in 132, but the API docs were not updated. I had a PR that is going into 136 to add these as well. I've spent a lot of time going down rabbit holes related to this functionality in recent months. And it turned out that Kubelet could already do what I needed it to do, and it just wasn't called out in the docs. So I'm mostly just looking for someone that has opinions about this. I don't consider myself an expert, but using these compressible options will become the default for all of my clusters. Excuse me. So I'd like to kind of steer people towards the option going forward.
Sounds good. I seems to be approved this as a PR, so I will take a look at this one.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. And yeah, Francesca, you have an item in the end.
Yes, I do. So, yeah, it's partially on behalf of this contributor, which is in the Beijing time zone. So, long story short, we have this feature, which is nice, and we had the initial discussion, and there is agreement about its useful. The question is, do we need a cap for this work? Because this is one of those features which sits on the awkward gray area that they're small, but still there are cases for the cap. So I posted my musings on that, my thoughts, but I'm not sure if we should add the cap or not. Just to summarize my own concerns, ideas. There are, okay, like, is this a net win or do we need a way to opt out? I would say yes, we need a way to opt out. And so how? So feature gates come to mind, but feature gates now it's even another case for a cap because this is clearly an enhancement, not a bug fix. And the other question is, okay, if so, should be fit in this cycle? So what's the consensus? So what's the feeling in this forum? Does this work requires a cap or not?
Just to explain what it is. Oh, somebody wants to say.
I think it, in my opinion, just falls to what Peter was saying. Like for this particular thing, it's a lot better to experiment on the runtime side, and if it's proven to be useful, then consider how to expose it to upper layers or well in metadata.
One difference though is that this is something that has to be done on the pod C group level.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. This is one of those cases in which Kubelets steps and say, no, I'm setting it myself.
I have the feeling I've looked over this. I like this approach. I have the feeling that we should go KEP route. I would entertain. Yeah, I think probably a KEP route makes sense just to like get consensus on the approach because there are a couple of different ways that we could go about this, and want to make sure that we have everyone in the room to talk through all of the different ways and not just make like a decision. But I think it'll be a pretty small feature, all things together. I don't think we we'll need an API change and that we'll want maybe a kubelet configuration change, but I don't think we'll want it anything higher. So I think probably a KEP. It might be one of those that we can get like the early beta KEP, but honestly we can talk through that there, I would say.
Yeah, I was advocating myself for this is something that should start as beta, but I see that this forum trends towards KEP, so I'm fine. That was an open question. I'll take an action item to summarize the conversation on the issue and move forward. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I think it was the last agenda item today. We have 18 minutes if you want to go into KEP. Just review what's left from last time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There were a handful that we didn't look at. Yeah.
Okay. Proposed for consideration. We still didn't went through all the proposed for considerations. Let's try to finish that and then move from there. Per container review limit configuration. We assigned already Mrnav as approver. Did we discuss last time? I don't
know why this one is just in Perfuoser because it should be in considered for release if it has an approver.
Okay, specialized lifecycle management. We didn't assign any approvers, meaning that we didn't discuss it likely.
Yeah, it's totally not clear to me. I know this is also coming from working group node lifecycle. I'm pretty sure the eviction request API is a prerequisite for this, so it's not totally clear to me if it makes sense to work on both at the same time. It seems like the node lifecycle working group wanted to, but I don't see. I'm trying to look through the list. I don't see anyone
Philip is here. He's raised hand.
Yeah, it's not a prerequisite anymore, so it can be worked on separately.
Okay. But from the working group's perspective, Philip, which do you think is more important just for us to sort of balance?
Yeah, I think like we have more consensus on the eviction request, and there are still some like pending discussions about the specialized lifecycle management.
Do we have KEP reviewers for this already? I would suggest we put it and consider for release, but Peter, you and myself, we need to review and see if it will fit into release.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay. Allow sticky bit. I think this is driven mostly by SIG storage.
Yeah, and I'm actually not sure if the author is going to get to working on this one. This release, it doesn't look.
Yeah, I put SIG Node Consulting, so it doesn't pollute our dashboard. allow host network pods to use user namespaces. I don't remember the status of it.
So this would be alpha 2. We're basically adding the runtime features, runtime handler features to it. So it's just like an extension to an existing alpha, fairly small. I don't remember if I put myself as a reviewer here, but I could be a reviewer here.
For now, and yeah, you're a reviewer. Okay,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, and for this kind of things, we need to follow process on creating issues on containerd and cryo, so we can discuss this. Split L3 cache topology awareness in CPU manager. Did we do stable?
This should be a stable graduation, I think.
Yeah.
And
It's already graduated, I think.
Mernal and Don, do you feel like we can delegate the approver to Francesco?
Yeah, definitely,
Sure.
definitely.
Sure.
Okay.
I already delegated.
Yeah,
thank you.
that's what I thought.
Okay. Add proc mount option.
This one's stable going along with user namespace.
Who is approved for this?
Historically, I actually don't remember. Was it Mernal?
Maybe.
Yeah, and add me.
Do you want to stay
moving forward.
approver? Or Peter, are you working on that yourself, or you want to?
I was the one that opened the KEP update. I don't need to be the one to do the work, but I think I have disqualified myself as an approver here by opening the KEP update.
Okay. Oh, there's a wrong link here.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. Okay. So Ronaldo, do you want to stay or delegate to somebody?
Peter, can we delegate to you? It's okay. I think you have the history here.
Okay.
You can-
I mean, yeah, if
Okay. Yeah, I think
I
it's
think-
fair. Yeah, it's and it's going to GA, so no doesn't change any scope of it, so should be fine.
Cool. Works for me.
This one we discussed last time, I believe, because we already assigned approver, and yeah, let's move consider release. Container level kill mode configuration. So I think the only problem, I really want this feature, but I don't know how API should look like on pod level. So I threw a bunch of suggestions there. I don't know if author of this want to continue working on that.
I think so. I think Toru is working on this. I think, Sergey, do you want the two of us to sort of tag team reviewing the existing proposal, and then we'll see if we can get it to a point that it makes sense to go to a tech lead?
Okay. Gabriel, Sergey, and Mike. Okay. So we need to ask to open the update.
Yeah, I guess it might not be. Maybe Toru might not be available. I thought they mentioned something, but I might be wrong about that.
Okay. I will keep it in this column for now. Extended resources. It goes to stable already. Ronaldo, do you want to be here?
I can help if you folks want.
Sure.
I think we always want help.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I reviewed part of it, so I can continue doing it. But Francesca, feel free to ping me on this. And priority-wise, I think it's quite high because we want like extended resources to be supported, so we can migrate to DRA faster.
It's not about what, Sergey.
It's another one.
It's a pod resources. It's information to expose about the DRA in the pod resources
Oh,
API.
Yes.
Okay, different one. Okay.
Yes.
Pod resource and pod resource. Oh, I see. Okay. So medium then? Medium to low?
Probably even low.
Okay.
Yeah, especially because it's a GA. I mean, it's like good to stabilize things, but that kind of lowers priority, I think.
Okay. SIG Node. Yeah, I think this needs to be moved. We discussed last time. Evented flag.
Yeah,
We
I
discussed
think
it last time. We still need some semblance of whether it's moving to some stable place.
Bing has opened a KEP update to work on it, and I think the whole plan is just stabilize, continuing to be an alpha.
So you want to move to consider for release?
I think so, yeah.
So we keep in alpha. We don't promote yet.
Correct.
Okay.
For that one, Kartik was really eager to work on it. He was asking several times about it in the Slack.
Yeah, I can do another review of it, though. I think I could use some other eyes on it as well. It's not a trivial feature.
Yeah, I really dislike the attempt to limit the scope by only plugging up and not unplugging, because like it postpones some important problems, but then people will abuse it both ways.
I'm open to recombining them. So ICE was the one that suggested originally that we break them apart to try to move forward on hot plug, which felt more important to me. But I'm open to recombining them. I think some of the pre-work for the unplug has been done, so we do have an idea of what the approach looks like, which was, I think, the blocker for hot plug at the beginning, just to make sure that the way we're doing hot plug is not going to break when we do unplug. But yeah,
The reason
I'm
I
open.
dislike it is because we suggest that unplug may not be working, but we don't protect ourselves from it. Like there is no way we can change, like we can protect ourselves and like make it explicit. We can only recommend not to do that. And if it's just recommendations, and people will use it both ways. So we need to think about both ways.
Well,
So is that a blocker for you then?
I'm sorry, two people spoke at once.
Sorry, I asked, is that a blocker for you then, Sergey?
Yeah, we need to understand what we do for unplug. Like we need to either forbid it or cancel it, or we need to think how a system will behave in both situations.
Okay.
My comment about that. So in most of scenarios where unplug is not something what we really can cancel. So for example, like some of a component went offline, like either CPU or memory, we can only trigger the eviction. So
yeah, and
we can't really cancel it.
Yeah, right now that's the answer. It's not like we don't allow it because we cannot change physics, right? So we're just saying that if it happens, you need to delete the node and like start from beginning, or like evict everything and restart.
We probably don't need to evict everything, but we just need to trigger eviction cycle for some of the components. So the most tricky ones is practically like if something is statically allocated, let's say by CPU manager, those will be hard evicted if some of those allocated will be gone offline. But for the rest, it will be just normal, well, resource starvation kind of eviction on one node.
Maybe we continue this conversation offline, but it sounds like we should combine the two, basically. So I can go back to Karthik with that.
Thank you. Next one is add condition for sandbox creation, going to beta. Is it going to beta? I thought it's already wasn't beta, or it's another beta.
Another beta. There's like one additional piece of thing to do, I think.
Kevin, are you here?
I think the implementation missed 135. So this is just a milestone bump, but not like a scope creep or anything.
Okay. Do we change anything in this milestone? Do you know?
We do need to set milestone 136. So there is like a piece of work to do for it, but we're not changing the like goal for 136, but from 135, we're going to try to do the same. Basically those two PRs, I think.
Okay. I can keep it and propose consider for release, but I don't know what we'll be doing there. I remember we've been discussing DRA being included in the testing, but I don't know if it's in scope. Okay, maybe I put it in consider for release, but then like we need to follow with Kevin what's happening. Okay, we have 4 minutes left. Workload control swap. Are we doing something, Ajay?
My goal was to move it forward, especially because like IPPR is moving beta. I wanted to get started on that work. Priority still could be low, but wanted to get a community consensus on this. There were some asks we had that better control on swap is needed, both on the channel and internally during customer feedback, but the priority could still be low.
Yeah, I wonder, Munal, do you have cycles to be approvers here? Because it's entering alpha, it's a discussion of new APIs, basically.
It can help here, but I assume like there'll be discussions on this call, right? On the API, and then once we reach agreement, it shouldn't be hard to approve.
I personally treat this as really no priority, so that's why I just don't want to commit to be the approver.
You can put to me, Rajkai.
Okay.
And I think if it is low priority and we optimize it out, that's like, not great. That's not ideal, but like that happens and that's okay, I will say. And we can continue to iterate.
Are we considering for release or we just postponing?
So
go ahead.
Okay, I personally don't think what we need to do that one and do this one because that's definitely will consume of the API reviewer bandwidth too, right? So that's why. But I'm not sure there's the demand because so far what I heard is no demand. Customer only express wishful list, right? So but no demand on this one. So I giving so many things we are working on. I personally want to put on hold on this one, but this is my personal opinion because we did talk about those things and how to design, how to work. So I don't want to waste the people's effort. But I personally treat this as really no priority. Yeah.
Thanks, Don. To add clarity, I agree with the priority because like we got many users give feedback that like we should discuss better control, but there isn't blocking because like currently Swap would work with whatever limits as calculated. The only reason for moving it in this cycle is to make sure that like IPPR shape, which currently doesn't work on Swap enabled pods. So with that be moving beta, if this later comes in with the new API for Swap, how would that change for IPPR? That's kind of the reason why we want to bring this together on an API shape and interest of discussion of separating these two features. But I don't know if IPPR folks have any thoughts or if this can be totally separated. And that is my concern.
We can relax this requirement later. If IPPR is not working with swap, we can relax it later if needed.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let me put it out of this scope, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't discuss APIs. It just means that it's likely wouldn't happen this release. Okay, and we are at time. Sorry, we didn't finish all this table, but we're pretty close to completion. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.